I don't know about you, but I am done spending energy on things that aren't worth the price. Do you ever wonder where all your energy goes? I'm not just talking about physically, but emotionally and mentally and spiritually. Now, one day I came to realize that I was actually spending more than I was taking in, and I was deeply, deeply exhausted. After 60, I'm still digging out from that life, but the balance is shifting. That's the good news, slowly but surely. Now, don't get me wrong. All those things that I bought before, they're still available to me, and some of them still look pretty good. But I now know that they're just not worth the price. So today, I want to share with you the 6 things that became just too expensive for me to keep paying for. Maybe you'll recognize a few of them in your own life. Hi, my name is Elisa and I'm the Rebel Crone. Around here, we like to look beneath the obvious because when we understand what's really going on, life starts making a whole lot more sense. The first one, winning arguments. When I was younger, being right felt incredibly important. Well, I had a lot to prove because underneath, I wasn't nearly as certain as I pretended to be, so I had to have discussions and maybe even some arguments about the things that I believed in. And I also believed that if I won the argument, something inside me would finally relax because I would know that it is true. But that isn't what would happen. Because winning an argument often comes with a price, and it can be a high price. It can cost you connection to that person, connection to the people around if there's other people watching. It costs a lot of energy, and it just takes up useless time. Now, these days, I simply ask myself, is this conversation, this potential argument, is it worth the price? And sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes I need to put my stake in the ground and say, this is what it is. But I also ask myself this question, who is actually going to benefit if I win this? If the answer is only me, then maybe winning isn't actually winning. The next one, it's a good one, FOMO, fear of missing out. I used to think saying yes to everything meant I was fully engaged and fully living. I hated the thought of missing out on anything. But now I see it very differently because every time I say yes to something, that means I'm saying no to something else. As I've gotten older, I've realized the world will always be busy. There will always be another event, another opportunity, another distraction, just a lot going on, and it just keeps going on whether I show up or not. So sometimes what I've realized is that the greatest gift I can give myself is saying no and just having an evening at home, rested, quiet, present. And in fact, that's most of my nights anymore. What I've learned is that it matters far less what the world is doing out there. It's what's happening inside of me that is most important. Because constantly chasing more or worrying about being left out is like being on a big old hamster wheel. Around and around and around you spin until you exhaust yourself. The only thing I would end up missing is myself. Now the next one, this is a big one. And this is a big challenge for younger women, and that's drama. Drama can be completely intoxicating. The emotional highs, the constant intensity, the feeling that something important is happening because there's a big energy flux with it. So be honest with yourself. How much of your life has been spent chasing one emotional spike, one emotional fix after another? Whether it's someone else's drama going on out there or your own drama going on inside of you. Eventually, the bill comes due. Your nervous system becomes exhausted. Your body grows tired, and joy feels farther and farther away. Your attention has become fragmented. I know this because I lived it. I grew up in a home where emotions were always running hot, especially with my mother, an intense Italian. And after a while, that level of intensity felt absolutely normal, right? We adjust and we adapt, and I adapted to that. Until one day, pretty much when I left the house and went out on my own, I realized that peace had become completely unfamiliar. I didn't have a point inside of me that I could resonate back with because that had been, let's say, buried away. And then I spent many, many years trying to calm things down, trying to come back to a place of equilibrium. I spent years trying to reclaim my inner peace. And now I know that peace is worth far more than any temporary drama can offer me. Okay, next is a big one. Number 4, using food or anything else to fill an emotional hunger. Obviously, food can nourish us, but it can also deplete us. So can shopping, so can scrolling, so can any kind of busyness out there, so can wine, so can work. They are all promising something. The typical question that people ask when they start to unravel that constant need to fill something inside of oneself is, what am I reaching for? But the deeper question is, what am I actually hungry for? Because most of the time, it isn't another outfit. Seriously, it's not another outfit. It's not a different job, a different relationship, or another shiny new something out there. What we're really looking for is something like comfort, peace, real connection, a sense of home within ourselves, that magical, beautiful balance. But the trouble is, we often reach for the loud solution outside of ourselves instead of going within for the quiet one. But emotional hunger is never satisfied by more stuff. We all know that. Real nourishment is often wonderfully ordinary. That's the beautiful thing about life. Simple things like rest, a hot bath, a home-cooked meal, sitting around enjoying a campfire with friends. It can also be enjoying what's already in your closet or in your home. Time with people who truly love you is priceless. A long walk in the woods or a stroll down the road. And once again, our bodies keep score of these things. They can't be fooled. Even if you don't feel it, doesn't mean your body doesn't know. It's just you're fooling yourself. So instead of immediately reaching for something out there, try asking yourself this. The last time I did this, how long did it actually satisfy me? Then ask yourself, what has nourished me in the past that still brings me peace today? What are those memories of things that are still golden and still sweet in your mind and in your heart? Now, these answers are usually much simpler, and much less expensive than what we imagine. The first half of my life was spent chasing what promised relief for what was going on inside me. Now, this second half has been spent discovering what actually nourishes me. Finally, we get to the best, toxic relationships. Love does not require self-abandonment. Ladies, let me repeat, love does not require self-abandonment. And we may know this intellectually, but do we really know this in our beings? Have we stopped participating in that, let's say, that paradigm, that false premise? Many people confuse endurance with love. I stuck it out. Man, times were tough, but I hung in there. Something that might be right about that, but there's also things that can be wrong about that. So let's look into it. Now, every relationship asks something of us. It requires time. It requires energy. It requires our attention. And it requires deep compassion for the other person and for ourselves. Now, that's natural. But if a relationship continually asks you to sacrifice your peace, your dignity, or your sense of self without giving back in return, the price eventually becomes too high. You have violated the law of reciprocity. I'm not saying healthy relationships should be conflict-free. They aren't. They're growth-filled, and sometimes they challenge us, they stretch us, but they help us become more of ourselves if we do it in alignment and if we keep the balance intact. The goal is not perfection. Once again, it's just balance. The difficult seasons should be outweighed by the nourishing ones. Now, for me, a toxic relationship is actually very simple to define. It is. The cost becomes greater than the benefit. Kind of like a spreadsheet. The cost becomes greater than the benefit. One side, the other side, are they balancing? So when that happens, when the cost becomes greater than the benefit, love slowly turns into self-abandonment. We start sacrificing ourselves. And dear ones, you are simply too valuable to keep paying that price for any relationship. I've come to believe that growing older isn't simply about collecting experiences. It's about becoming a wiser steward of things like our attention, our energy, our peace, our authenticity. These are the most valuable currencies we possess. Spend them where life grows, not where it quietly drains them. To me, this is one of the deepest expressions of true wisdom. So in closing, I just want to say that the world will always offer you another argument, another distraction, another expectation, another reason to betray yourself, and another reason to go numb. I've learned that the most expensive things in life are often the ones that the bill gets delayed, and that is seeking approval, creating drama, looking to be perfect in everything, people-pleasing, self-abandonment, all those oldies but goodies. They quietly deduct small payments every single day until one morning you realize you've spent years paying for a life that was never truly yours. So the question isn't, what does this promise me? The better question is, what will this cost me? Because the older I get, the more I realize that the richest women I know are not the ones who accumulated the most. They're the ones who became unwilling to keep paying for the things that simply weren't worth the price anymore. So real freedom isn't found in forgetting, it's found in remembering what matters, remembering who you are. That has become far more valuable to me than any temporary escape. I hope this is helpful. And as always, peace from within, because that's where it starts, that's where it ends, that's everything in the middle. That's the place to be, my friends. So with that, I hope you have a beautiful day and you start looking at, what am I really spending my life energies on?